This is the Sig Sauer Tango 6T, the LPVO the Army chose for their designated marksman rifle and special forces. And this is also a Sig Sauer Tango 6T, but the civilian version of the aforementioned optic. A scope you can possess without having to enlist for 4 years and qualify as marksman. In this video, we're going to find out if this LPVO passes dress inspection or is just a PSYOP. Let's see what you get inside this rather plain brown cardboard box. A lot of pricey optics don't give you much beyond the scope itself, but this is a good amount of accessories and a really nice mount. This is a Sig Sauer Tango 6T, a 1:6 first focal plane LPVO, and Sig Sauer's premium LPVO, certainly by looks of it. This is a nicely built and engineered piece of equipment here. It really looks like some fine Swiss watch in terms of detail and fit and finish. As I'm holding it up close, this looks spectacular. Now I got to point out that the mount came pre-installed with the scope out of the box. This line here on the scope is designed to help you level out your scope when putting it onto a mount, but this, no need for that really, because this came with the mount pre-installed. And I want to take a moment here just to look at this mount. It is this is really well built. It's got really beefy mounting, or really beefy bolts on the mount base, and of course torque screws on the rings. There's a lot of mounts I've taken a look at, some budget that look premium, but this truly looks like a premium mount. So Sig did not skimp out on their mounts for this particular scope. Now this has an illuminated reticle with 9 levels of illumination, and the first 2 labeled for night vision. A 2232 battery came pre-installed, but it also comes with a spare one in the box, or at least mine did. Nice, that's very loud. Tactile positive, really clear clicks, no slop. Let's just check out the windage. Pretty much the same. No slop, very tactile. Now they are 0.2 MOA per click, and as I mentioned, they are user resettable. And let's just listen and take a look at the magnification ring. Ooh, that's smooth. That's butter smooth. Notice here, this is not some sort of a attachment point. This is actually fiber optics for the magnification ring, so that you can clearly see from a shooting position the position of your magnification ring. That's pretty next level stuff. All right, let's take a look at this ocular focus. But pretty smooth. Not as smooth as the magnification ring, but still pretty good. Wow. Okay, so enough gushing about how this thing looks. The most important thing is how well it functions, so let's take it out to the range and take a look. Before we get into the test, I'd like to take a quick break here and talk about this episode's sponsor, Aura. You've seen the news with those massive security breaches at those big companies that have compromised mine and probably your data. And that's why it's important to have personal digital security. And that's why I use Aura. For the price of a typical VPN, not only am I getting VPN service, but I'm getting spam blockers, junk mail blockers. In fact, they're removing my name from those damn broker lists. And they offer a comprehensive suite of services, including fraud alerts, scam alerts, and credit monitoring. Try it out yourself for free. Go to aura.com/moondog and sign up for a 14-day free trial, no commitments, and you're helping support this channel. You know, identity fraud is a real thing, and with AI, it's all too easy to spoof your identity. That's why you should try out Aura. All right, let's get back to the tests. We are looking through the Sig Sauer Tango 6T at its lowest power of 1 to give us our best overall image through the glass. And we are going to be living with an LPVO mostly at 1 power, is what it's optimized for, and with both eyes open. And even with my naked eye, I'm seeing very little distortion or that sort of fish-eyeing effect that people complain about with LPVOs. It's pretty minimal, not as super flat as some I've tested, but this is pretty good. And you can see with the telephone pole there on our right, it's pretty darn straight. There's no distortion around the outer edges, and the position of objects is pretty accurate within and without. So let's bring up the magnification, because we'll just be magnifying any faults in the glass, bringing it up to 3 power. Now looking at the hillside there, that image is really nice, crisp, clear, and bright. No distortion or softening around the outer edges. And let's bring it up to its maximum of 6 power. And let's see if we're seeing any distortion or chromatic aberration. Oh, it looks pretty good. Maybe just a slight bit of softening on just the very outer edge, but really, this looks great. And I can make out the trail marker sign at the top of the hill there, just above and to the right of our donut of death, or horseshoe of death. And that is a 36-inch sign on top of an 8-foot pole, which is a good proxy for an IPSC target at this distance. Alright, I'm going to bring it up all the way to its maximum here. 9, and that's pretty darn bright. And let's see what this looks like. We bring it down to 1 power. And it's still pretty bright. Let me bring this down, because this reticle can be somewhat easy to lose in a complex background like this, because it is a first focal plane reticle. And this dot, this red dot, does help. Now, it's not quite, I wouldn't call this red dot bright, but it is still visible. And it does help. So, yeah, I'm calling this daylight bright, at the very edge of what I would consider to be daylight bright. We're looking through the Sig Sauer Tango at our reference targets at 100 yards at 1 power. Now I'm going to bring this up halfway in its range to 3 power. Now all the way up to its maximum of 6 power. And let's take a look at our range of adjustments here, starting with our elevation. And that is the top. Now let's check out the other end. And that is our bottom. No dead clicks. Let's get this back to 0 on our turrets. Now our windage. There we go, our rightmost. And this is our leftmost. Okay, let's get this back to 0. Now, let's do a box test, starting with a full rotation on our elevation. And now a full rotation, or at least as far as we can go, on our windage. Now back to 0 on the turret for elevation, and then back to 0 on our windage. Next, I moved our setup to 50 yards so we could get a clearer look at our reference targets. Alright, let's take a look at the overall image. I can see chromatic aberration in both the right and left target frames, just at the edge of the scope image. The center has far less, or even minimal, chromatic aberration than I can see visible. In terms of clarity, I can make out the target hits on the reactive sticker target on the bottom left, and 2 additional 22 caliber holes below that sticker target. And looking at our optical reference chart on the bottom right, I can make out both horizontal and vertical lines down to element 1 in group -1. Alright, before we get started talking about this LPVO, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button and the notification bell buttons if you're not subscribed to the channel already. It just takes a second to hit those buttons and it's absolutely free. Or you can become a member. Members get special perks like early access to my review videos weeks ahead of the general public. So thanks for doing that. And I want to give a big shout out to my buddy in the Sheriff's Department for lending me his personal SIG Tango 6 for me to test out. And I can see now why he chose this for his personal weapon. And also the U.S. Army picked this particular optic for their designated marksman program and for their special forces. Though I gotta wonder why they chose a 1:6. Leave me a comment. Do you think they should have picked a 1:10 or a 1:8? Or if they should have picked a second focal plane instead of this 1:6? But I gotta say, in testing out this particular 1:6 LPVO, I can see why they would have chosen it. It is really, really good. I'm impressed. Its eye box is for an LPVO is pretty decent, and its illumination is truly daylight bright, as you saw. Perhaps not as insanely bright as a Nightforce, but still pretty close. I'd only have to nitpick about this, is that its reticle, I think, is a little too thin at 1 power. They really should have thickened up the base of its crosshairs to be as thick as it looks like at 6 power, just to be a little more visible at 1 power. But again, reticles are very subjective. You ask 10 different people their opinions on a reticle and you'll get 20 different opinions, right? So yeah, that's just my take on it. The only other thing I can say about this is perhaps it's a little too out of my league in terms of its price. Its retail price, I think, is around $1,700. So yeah, I don't have a DoD or Department procurement budget. So it's a little out of my league, but if you're interested, if you have the means, I would say by all means look into this. I'll include product links in my full written review at moondogindustries.com. Check out that article, use that link to help support this channel. Just be sure you're picking the right optic though. SIG also makes a SIG Tango MSR LPVO, but it is not the same as the SIG Tango 6, despite its similar name. And that particular optic, which I reviewed, by the way, I'll include a link to that review in this video's description, is kind of meh. It's certainly more affordable than this one by far, but it does not perform anywhere near as good as this. This is in a whole nother league, so make sure you're picking up the SIG Tango 6. Anyway, the fact you're still watching this video probably means you like it, so don't forget to hit that like button before jumping off to your next video. Anyway, thanks for watching. You be safe out there. Moondog, out. Hey, I'd like to know what you thought of this video. Leave me a comment or chat with me on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, MeWe, Instagram, or Locals. And if you want to see all of my videos, go to moondogindustries.com.